She was sitting on a quiet bench, eating her sandwich, when the peace suddenly broke. A loud voice hit the air. "Hey! You can't sit here. Show me your ID right now." Two officers stormed toward her like she was a criminal. She looked up slowly, confused but calm, as the older cop pointed at her bag and said, "What's in there? You people always hide something." She took a breath, trying not to react, but the younger cop stepped closer and grabbed her wrist like she was already guilty. People around the park started watching, phones coming out, but the older cop snapped, "Stop recording. She's trespassing." She whispered, "This is a public park. I'm not breaking any rule," but he pushed her bag with his boot, trying to open it. Her heart raced, not from fear, but from the anger of being judged again. She tried to warn them softly, "You really don't want to do this," but the officer laughed. "Lady, I'll decide what I want to do." And that's when she reached into her bag, slow and steady, pulling out a small black wallet, opening it just enough for them to catch the bold gold letters inside. The older cop's voice cracked, "No, that can't be real," and for the first time, they stepped back instead of her. The older cop's face drained of color as he leaned in, squinting at the badge like his eyes were lying to him. The younger one froze mid-step, his hand still on his radio, scared to even breathe. She didn't raise her voice, she didn't have to. She just looked at them and said quietly, "You put your hands on a federal officer. Think very carefully about your next move." The younger cop swallowed hard and instantly dropped her wrist, stepping back like he'd touched fire. But the older one tried to save his pride. This must be fake. No way someone like you works for the CIA." The words slipped out before he realized how bad they sounded, and people gasped around them. Phones kept recording. She stood up slowly, calm but sharp, and said, "You're welcome to verify it. But once you make that call, there's no undoing what you just did." His fingers shook as he reached for his radio, but before he could press the button, her phone buzzed. She checked the screen, her brows tightening. "Interesting timing," she murmured. Then she lifted her eyes at them. "My office wants to know why two local officers are trying to detain an active agent in the middle of her surveillance assignment." The younger cop's knees almost buckled when he heard the word, surveillance. He looked around the park nervously, suddenly unsure if he had just walked into something far bigger than a simple stop. The older cop tried to keep his voice steady, but the crack showed. "Surveillance. Here. Don't play games with me." She stepped closer, not aggressive, just controlled, and said, "If I were playing games, officer, your career would already be over." He opened his mouth to argue, but she lifted her phone and tapped the screen. A live map appeared, dots glowing across the park. "See these signals? These are devices my team is tracking. And you just stepped right in the middle of it." The younger cop panicked and whispered, "Sir, what if she's telling the truth?" But the older one was too deep in his pride to back out. "This park is quiet. There's nothing here," he said, almost convincing himself. She gave a small, tight smile. "That's what worries me. You interrupted the moment something went dark." He frowned. "Went dark?" She looked past them, toward the far side of the park, voice low and steady. "One tracker stopped moving 5 minutes ago, right after you grabbed me." Both officers turned, following her gaze, and that's when she added, "If my suspect slipped past because of you, you'll answer for more than harassment." Suddenly, a sharp rustle came from the trees. Both cops flinched, hands flying to their holsters, but she didn't move at all. She just whispered, "Too late. He's still here." The rustling grew louder, and both cops drew their guns, hands shaking. She didn't even blink. Instead, she raised one hand calmly and said, "Put those away unless you know who you're aiming at." The younger cop whispered, "Ma'am, is someone watching us right now?" She didn't answer. She just stared toward the trees with a look that made his stomach drop. A shadow moved, slow, deliberate, like it wasn't afraid of them at all. The older cop tried to sound brave. "Identify yourself," he shouted. The figure didn't respond. It simply stepped back into the darkness. She sighed, annoyed more than scared. "Great. Now he knows you're alert." The older cop stammered, Who is he?" She finally turned to them. "The reason I'm here. The reason your little stunt almost ruined a 6-month operation." Before they could speak, her phone buzzed again. She answered fast. "Agent Hale. Yes, I know. I'm dealing with local interference. The older cop flinched at the word, interference. She listened for a moment, then her expression hardened. Copy that. I'll contain them and proceed. When she hung up, the younger cop raised his hands. Contain us. What does that mean? She stepped closer, her voice low and razor sharp. It means you two just became part of a federal incident. You moved my suspect, scared him off his path, and now my team wants to know if you did it on purpose. Both cops froze, but she wasn't done. She pointed toward the place where the shadow had disappeared. He didn't leave. He circled behind us. The older cop gasped, turning fast. And then she said the line that stopped him cold. Don't move. He only attacks the one who looks afraid. The older cop's breath hitched, and for the first time since the whole mess began, he couldn't hide the fear shaking in his hands. He turned his head just a little, too little to look brave, too much to look calm. She noticed. I said don't move, she whispered, eyes fixed over his shoulder. The younger cop stepped closer to her, voice trembling, Ma'am, what do we do? She didn't look at him. Stay behind me. If he thinks you're with me, he won't touch you. The older cop whispered, touch me. Before she could answer, a twig snapped behind them, sharp and clear. The older cop almost jumped. She slowly reached behind her jacket, not for a gun, but for something smaller. A tiny transmitter, its light blinking fast. She clicked it. For a second, nothing happened. Then a soft vibration hummed through the ground. The younger cop panicked. What was that? What did you just call? She finally looked at him with the faintest smirk. Back up. Another twig snapped, closer this time. The older cop gasped, why can't we see him? She spoke with calm, terrifying certainty. Because he's trained not to be seen unless he wants to be. The younger cop's face went pale. Trained? Trained by who? She leaned slightly forward, her voice a low warning. By us. And right then, like answering her cue, a ghost-like silhouette appeared between the trees. Not walking, standing, still, watching. The older cop's lips trembled. Oh God, is he armed? She exhaled slowly. He's worse than armed. He's angry.